Welcome to 805 Focus. I'm Dr. Cynder Sinclair with Nonprofit Connect, and we will be bringing you the latest on your favorite nonprofits. So get ready to be inspired. Our special guest today is Chris Harris, and Chris is the board president for C.A.R.E4Paws. Welcome, Chris.
Well, thank you for having me. And unfortunately, you have me today instead of our amazing co-founder, Isabel Gullo, but I will do my best to stand in.
Oh, you're going to do a great job.
Yeah.
I just know it. You have a big story to tell.
Yeah.
C.A.R.E4Paws, tell us all about what you're doing and how you're growing and what your needs are.
Okay. Usually what I start off with is, because we're in the animal welfare sphere, most people think shelter or rescue. That's kind of what pops into mind. We are an organization that tries to provide a safety net of services, to keep pets and with their families healthy and for life on it. So the way we think about it is the pet is just part of the family, and you wouldn't do anything to separate a family. And so trying to look for the services that are most needed to make that happen is what we do. Just a brief history. We initially focused on spay-neuter because we were looking at overpopulation and just trying to address that. But as we've evolved as an organization, we still do a lot of spay-neuter. We were at 2,700 spays and neuters for the last year, which is more than double what we were doing just a couple of years ago on it. So we continue to grow there. But we're also servicing a lot more in terms of medical need and kind of medical services that could be mass removals, dentals, and also obviously vaccinations, and providing those at free or low cost, just to kind of eliminate that financial barrier.
Because a lot of people can't afford that sort of thing.
Yeah, and one thing as we've evolved is initially our clientele was, we work a lot with the homeless community and also just those that are extremely low income. We're seeing probably more in the middle class realm now who are needing that assistance, because veterinary care is extremely expensive, so hard to access, and us to even just provide vaccines at a price that's much more affordable is something that can make it work for a family in terms of keeping their pet up to date on all the necessary shots and still making it work for their budget. So that's where I think we've seen a shift whenever we look at who's coming in, who needs our services. The other thing too is how we operate. We have 2 mobile units. We're out in the community usually 4 to 5 days a week. We'll have 220 mobile clinics this year. We basically will set up at a community center. We have kind of some stock locations, one in Santa Barbara, down at the Eagles, up in Lompoc at the Half Century Club, and then at the Eagles in Santa Maria. So those are 3 locations we're at pretty much every week.
You cover the whole county.
Yeah, and we also get into San Luis Obispo County, so going beyond. We started up there in 2022, but we have kind of a bit of consistency in our schedule, and then we float the other days based on the need for surgeries and services. Most of our need is North County and off into San Luis Obispo. We probably are down in Santa Barbara really 3 times a month, just because we have to just kind of adjust based on need and what needs to be booked in terms of surgeries. But we have those 2 units. One, our newest one, which we just launched into service in August of 2023, is a 37-foot unit, full surgical suite, couple prep tables. It is game altering for us in terms of the volume of pets we can handle, and also just the accommodations for our veterinary team to work in. So that's been a really, really welcome addition, where you had some incredible supporters who helped us fund that, because
that's fabulous.
It was roughly about $330,000 for the unit, but the real cost is actually maintaining and providing the services. But then we also have a 27-foot unit that we got back in 2018, and so oftentimes we'll run 2 units. When I mentioned we do 220 clinic days a year, it was that for last year, and it's gonna be about the same this year. But what we're doing more is running two vets at a time in order to meet the need for the services, just to make sure that we're covering any of the backlogs. Like large dog spay neuters are oftentimes, that's where there's a huge demand and it takes longer to schedule. It just takes more clinic space and more time and all that, and that's a little bit harder for us. So we're delivering on that mobile basis in those kind of higher need areas in the community. And I think in general, our accessibility is also what's prompting people to be able to come to us, because for vaccines or something like that, you don't need an appointment. You can just show up from 10 to 1 at each of our clinic days. We have walk-ins, and people may come in and even do a wellness check, things like that.
So how do people know when you're going to be where?
So if you go to our website, which I think will be presented at the bottom of the screen at some point in time. We have an event schedule in there, and so we have mobile wellness services up there, so you can see where we are. Usually about a month out out on it, and so we keep those up to date. So if people need our services, that's the place to go on it. So
all right. So if somebody's watching this and they need your services, or they want to find out, well, gosh, I wonder if C.A.R.E4Paws offers this type of service that I need. Anyway, they can go on your website and they can find out about your services, and they can find out your schedule, where you're going to be when.
Yeah, exactly. And there's information there. There's a contact email to submit an inquiry, or whether you have a question on a service. And obviously for surgeries, those require advanced booking on it. And so you can handle that all through email or via phone on it. We have a great team that usually is able to get back to people within a day on it. So there's a lot of inquiries that come through, and we just try to do our best to keep up with them on it. But yeah, for surgeries, you have to have kind of that. Obviously, that's something we do in advance unless there's an emergency on it. And then but for vaccines, there's a lot you can do just on a walk-up basis, and that is really helpful for folks.
Well, and while they're on your website, they can make a financial donation that is tax deductible, because you are a 501c3.
Yeah, that is correct. Obviously, we wouldn't be here without a huge amount of generous support. Our budget for this year is going to be roughly about $2 million, which is a substantial increase. That's more than double, again, just 2 years ago on it. And if people are wondering where that money is going, people oftentimes ask, do they volunteer their time, or do the vet techs volunteer their time? Unfortunately, the economic reality is that's not possible for folks. We do need to pay them, and so that's most of our expenses go into the clinic staff, and that's if we're looking at where we spend our dollars as an organization, about 85% of it goes into clinic operations.
The people who really do the work.
Yes, and that said, if you look at our the number of pets we see, I believe we assisted roughly 17,000 pets through our mobile clinic. This includes vaccines, medical services, spay neuters for the last year. We are incredibly efficient economically. We've never had a brick and mortar in any way, even for our administrative offices. So that's something that is maybe a little bit unique about us, that we've always worked in that, since our founding, 14 years ago as an organization. And so that's, I think we've always been very lean, but now we have roughly 25 employees, and so we've grown quite a bit. But that, obviously, again, to your point, we welcome any support we can get. We believe we're doing really good work, and we know the money that comes will be used efficiently and effectively. So
yeah, it sure sounds like it. Yeah. Wow. So you do such important work, and there's such a huge need. You're still serving the homeless population, but now you're noticing more middle income and upper middle coming to you. And so you're expanding your reach. And so that is an amazing thing.
Yeah, as kind of cited some of the numbers, we every year we're kind of like, okay, this will be our year we baseline. We can kind of stabilize with growth, but we're small enough that we're able to kind of respond to the demand, and flexible enough that we still have that ability to grow on it. And it's going to be nice one year to have like a year where it's okay, things are stable. We're just going to focus on fine-tuning operations. But the need is just there. It's really overwhelming in it. And again, even absent of cost, veterinary care is very hard to access. There's just general shortages of services. So we don't see that changing. We know that's going to be a part of our existence for the foreseeable future. And as we move further into San Luis Obispo County, and we know there's a huge amount of need there, it's going to continue to expand. We're building out kind of the team that we need to make sure we can continue to deliver that. But it is a challenge, but it's something that's also incredibly rewarding as an organization, and for our clinic team to know the impact we're having. I mean, as you mentioned, working with the homeless community, for those individuals, oftentimes that is their reason for being. That is what keeps them grounded, keeps them going on it, and they care for that animal so much. And our ability to make sure that they have access to what they need And just kind of as a quick sidebar on that, we have a number of like homeless specific events that are maybe not on veterinary care, but say Thursday nights at Alameda Park here in Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
We are out there providing, supplies, food, what have you. I was out there last night. We have anywhere from probably 15 to 50 people that'll come out there.
Wow.
Who are in need, and it's all rapid fire within an hour of us delivering that. But it's also makes for a nice connection because that's on a Thursday night, and that's when our clinic's usually in Santa Barbara. But so we do beyond just the veterinary care. It just, again, going back to that idea of safety net, it's food. Food is something we always have and will always provide. During the pandemic, at one point, we were doing about 4 tons a week of food.
Oh, golly.
Rough estimate was about 3 million pet meals we provided during the pandemic. Well, that's kind of eased back. We still make sure that's always available because that's something that no one should have to worry about, and we should. It's pragmatically, it's pretty inexpensive to provide on it, and so but we always have that available. And even at our clinics, if someone asks for food and they need food, or if they need a special diet food, we'll make sure it happens there. And then basic pet supplies, when someone needs a proper leash, collar, harness. Jackets are a big item, especially within the homeless community, making sure the pets have proper attire to stay warm and comfortable. So that's kind of a beyond just the veterinary care stuff. We're trying to provide all those other support avenues there. And then I know one other thing I wanted to talk to you about was our domestic violence assistance program.
Oh yeah, I'd love to hear about
that.
So
it's called Safe Haven. We launched it in, I want to say 2021. I'm maybe get dates not quite right on it, but we did that in partnership with Domestic Violence Solutions for Santa Barbara County, and we knew there was a need there because domestic violence victims, oftentimes when they're going to a shelter, they don't have the ability to take their pet with them, or at least on any sort of like meaningful duration, and that became a barrier for them leaving a situation that they really should are best served getting out of. I think this statistic is on average, domestic violence victims with pets tend to stay up to 2 years longer, just because it's a family member that if they're left with the option of I'm either leaving this pet behind or leaving the situation. And so we wanted to create basically a program where if someone calls up Domestic Violence Solutions, and this can also flow through the district attorney's office, what have you, if they have a pet that needs care while they're working out their housing situation and getting the help they need, that we will say we will take your pet and we will make sure it's cared for, put it in a foster home, and take that worry off your plate, and make sure and also if they need medical care during that time, or if they just need training, what have you.
That would give them peace of mind.
Yeah, it's that idea that we can just make sure that everything is taken care of, so they do not have to worry about that. Oftentimes we'll be working with them because they'll want updates and things like that. But in that sense, that's one of our newer programs. It's one where you're talking about like volunteer needs. That's having more fosters would be really important to us.
More
there.
Foster families.
Yes,
Tell
foster
us about
families,
that.
and so it's in this scenario, you're probably looking on an average, like it could be 2 weeks to a couple months is how long we would have someone typically be in foster with that program. But we really want to have that network, so we always know that whenever we go out to get a pet, that we have a waiting list of homes where that pet can go to. And so we would love to grow that. It's been challenging in that sense, and we're always looking for new volunteers in that, and that's a great way to be able to help out, and also just make a huge impact in someone's life, because then they have that peace of mind knowing that their loved one's taken care of.
So let's say that somebody's watching this and they want to find out more. Let's see, gosh, what would it take for me to be offer a foster home for an animal?
Yeah.
They could go to your website?
Correct, and there is a foster application on there.
Oh, there is, okay.
And so they can go there and fill that out, because obviously we need to make sure that they have the proper accommodations for the pet.
Sure.
If they're renting versus owning, that a pet is permitted, etc. And we'll usually do some additional checking on that, because similar to whether it's a shelter that's having a foster, we will do all the necessary due diligence there to make sure that they're being placed in a safe environment on it. So
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. That I could see a lot of people being interested in that.
Yeah. No, it is. I think a lot of people are always, we have the people that have pets and they're like, okay, I don't mind another. And there's other people who aren't sure, and it's a great way to kind of test the waters and get to experience pet ownership and on a temporary basis.
Yeah.
And I'll just in general plug, for the county animal services, they're always in need of fosters too. So,
all right.
So they're a wonderful partner, and we work closely with them. And so I always encourage people to do that. They offer a lot of flexible options if you just want to look for a way to help out our furry friends.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And speaking of helping out furry friends, so it seems like I heard or read that you folks are going to be starting a planned giving program for people who want to leave you in their will.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that's been our myself as a board president and other board members been on our to-do list to work with Isabel, our co-founder, on that. And so we actually have an event on March 23rd at the Leaf Winery if people are interested in coming out and maybe seeing the mobile clinic. And so you can reach out on our website if you're interested in that. But that is to kind of launch our planned giving program in a more formal way. It's always been there. There's always been that option. But we want to just make it a little bit more prominent to those who support us or are thinking about supporting us, that this is a great way to do it. And so again, that's leaving us in your state. There's other mechanisms by which you can do planned giving as well. And so it's, for us as an organization, we're roughly 14 years old. So we're still relatively young. So we're just we're in our teenage years, and we're just to that point where we're probably, people could start to think about us as a planned giving target in that sense. And so we're as mentioned, we run roughly a $2 million budget a year. We run comfortably, but we obviously having a little bit more financial stability and all that, and oftentimes that comes through planned giving. But I would encourage you to do your due diligence on the organization. Feel free to reach out to Isabel or myself if you have questions. And if you care about animal welfare, I think we're a good investment. So
yeah, I'd say.
And I know one thing when we were doing our pre-talk on this, kind of tying it back to the domestic violence program, is that idea that we find ourselves working more at that nexus of human and animal welfare, and that I see that especially in our domestic violence program and also in our homeless services out there, because I know individually some of us have taken on relationships with our homeless clients and trying to help them find the services they need and help them wherever they can. I know Isabel and I had a homeless gentleman we helped for years and years, and it was both challenging and frustrating, but extremely rewarding. But it also, we realized that oftentimes that relationship with the pet is a way to build trust with someone, and also find an ability to have them help themselves on it. And then in addition to that, we also have our youth education program called Paws Up for Pets. And it's about responsible pet ownership, and we do this through Boys and Girls Clubs.
That's so good.
And it's a multi-week kind of badge program where you have to go through and have different learning exercises each week on it. While it's again about responsible pet ownership, it's also really at its core about kindness and caring for all living creatures. So I view it almost as a kind of anti-bullying type training in terms of just that compassion to all creatures on it. And for kids, it's animals are an easy thing to coalesce around, and it's just having taken my dog out there, and it is such a fun experience, and the kids. We definitely have their attention when we're out there with pets and all that.
Gosh.
So, yeah.
Well, this is all so fascinating, and I'm so glad to know about all the work you're doing and how you're growing. And we have about a minute left. Is there anything else you'd want our audience to know about C.A.R.E4Paws?
Well, I think for us, again, check out our website. It is stock full of information. You'll find a link to our 2023 kind of annual report there, which also really highlights some of the work we're doing in there. So I think that is a great way to learn more about us. We have a fundraiser called Happy Tales coming up in May. It'll be at Music Academy of the West. It'll be on a Saturday evening. And I'm not going to try to guess the date right now and get it wrong, but you can find it on the website. I would, if you're interested, that would be a great place to come. You can hear a little bit more client-specific tales about people we've helped throughout the year. It's just a fun evening. We always have fun auction items. We have had things like VIP tours for the Search Dog Foundation, and we do have one of our board members is Angel Flights, and so you can join him on an Angel Flight. So there's all sorts of fun stuff there. It's kind of a nice soft entry into learning more about C.A.R.E4Paws, raising some funds, and just having a fun evening. So I'd encourage him to do that. But we are so grateful for you giving us the opportunity to tell a little bit more about the organization. Yes. And we are very, very excited. As Isabel always said, we had a typo in one of our original board materials, and it said the most rewarding. We left out experience, and so we are the most rewarding experience, and also very rewarding, being part of this organization. So.
Yeah. Well, and in Santa Barbara, we sure care about our furry friends,
yes,
don't we?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being with us and for all your good work.
All right.
We appreciate you.
All right, great. Have a good afternoon. Bye.
And thank you for joining us on 805 Focus, and we'll see you next time.